But first up tonight, look, how can a state like Queensland unite and recover when the government simply wants to divide and conquer? Why would voters back Labor to navigate them out of the worst fiscal crisis in a generation when the ALP didn't have an economic plan before COVID, let alone now? And why would voters want to support a government that constantly picks fights with the Prime Minister, who is the most popular PM in Queensland since the halcyon days of John Howard's popularity? This upcoming October 31 election in Queensland is incredibly important for not just the Sunshine State but the rest of Australia. A strong and vibrant Queensland is good for the national economy. With Victoria an economic basket case, it's important that Queensland take up the challenge to be the nation's second best performing economy behind New South Wales. Yet this current government knows nothing about fiscal responsibility or stimulus, showing no sign of addressing debt recovery, which is now nearing $100 billion. In fact, in North Queensland, where this election, I believe, will be won and lost, voters are increasingly frustrated at two issues: the government's tepid response to the economic challenge of COVID, and of course youth crime. Youth crime is out of control, and the government's revolving door policy on dealing with young offenders will cost it votes. But there's a growing concern that the one-size-fits-all approach to COVID, with the government insisting on its 4 square metre rule, is disadvantaged restaurants and pubs. Now, you can put a cup of coffee in somebody's hand in North Queensland, but if you put a beer in their hand, according to the experts, they're more likely to catch coronavirus, even though the North hasn't seen a case in 3 months. People are angry. They're angry at the inconsistencies, and they're angry at the way regional Queensland, and Australia for that matter, we've seen every night on this show for the last 6 months, the inconsistencies and the unfairness that's attached to this particular pandemic. People in Queensland, in regional Queensland, they've been taken for a ride. Voters are being bombarded in this state with taxpayer-funded propaganda about how Labor is helping the state unite and recover after coronavirus. What a joke. The hard border decisions have cost many people their jobs and their livelihoods. And a sensible and more flexible approach, like New South Wales, would have been a much more prudent response. Instead, Queensland is now divided on COVID. The lefties love Labor because they've kept the people reasonably safe, but business and tourism is angry. They're angry that they've been taken to the cleaners despite few COVID cases in the past 3 months. Queenslanders want a proper, realistic economic plan for the future. The challenge now is for the LNP to deliver that policy, because Labor surely can't.